English. The royal bird upon the solar city, 7 months together shall make a nocturne augury, the eastern wall shall fall, the lightning shall shine, then the enemies shall be at the gate for 7 days. Not. By the royal bird is meant an eagle, which for 7 days together shall be observed upon some eastern city, and shall be taken for a presage, that the eastern wall of that city shall fall by lightning, at which time the enemies shall be at the gate for 7 days together. English. Upon the agreement made, out of the fort, shall not come he that was in despair, when those of Arbois, of Langres, against Bresse, shall have put in dull and ambuscado of foes. Not. The sense is, that according to the articles or agreement made between the besieger of a fort, and the governor of it, the said governor by despair will not come out, and this shall happen, when those of Arbois and Langres shall be against those of Brescia, and shall have put an ambuscado in the city of Dol. English. Those that shall have undertaken to subvert the kingdom that hath no equal in power and victories, shall cause by fraud, notice to be given for 3 nights together, when the greatest shall be reading a Bible at the table. Not. What place is meant by the unparalleled kingdom, the author hath hid as well from me as the reader. English. One shall be born out of the gulf and the unmeasurable city, born of parents obscure and dark, who by the means of Rouen and Euro will go about to destroy the power of the great king. Not. Without doubt by this gulf and unmeasured city the author means Paris, by reason of its greatness, and the multitude of its inhabitants. English. Through Switzerland and the neighboring places, by reason of the clouds shall fall to war, the lobstars, grasshoppers and gnats, the faults of Leman shall appear very naked. Not. By Leman is meant the city of Geneva, the rest needeth no further interpretation. English. Divided in 2 heads and parted into 3 arms, the great city shall be troubled with waters, some great ones among them scattered by banishment, by a Persian head Byzance shall be sore oppressed. Not. This prophecy containeth 3 things. The first is an inundation by which Paris is threatened, for without doubt he meaneth here that city, at the head of which the river Seine is divided in 2 heads, and makes an island where the cathedral church and the palace are situated, and then parted into 3 branches, one of which runneth by the church of the Augustines, the other by the quay of La Mégisserie, and the third passeth under the great hospital. This city then is threatened hereof. Inundation, to which it is very subject, by reason of the lowness of her situation, and the confluence of several rivers that meet at the head of it. The second part of the prophecy hinteth that at that time, some great ones of that city shall be banished, and the third, that Constantinople, which was anciently called Byzantium, or rather the Great Turk by a figure of rhetoric, called Synecdoche, shall be much oppressed by the Persians. English. In the year that Saturn out of slavery, in the free Count Ray shall be drowned by water, with Troyan blood his marriage shall be, and for certain he shall be hedged about with Spaniards. Not. By Troyan blood is understood the French nation, the meaning therefore is, that in the year that a great inundation shall be in France, then shall a notable marriage be made, by which the French shall be hedged about, or fenced by Spaniards. English. Upon the sand through an hideous deluge of other seas, shall be found a sea monster, near to that place shall be made a sanctuary, which shall make Savone a slave to Turin. Not. When by the overflowing of the neighboring seas, a sea monster shall be cast upon the sand, near to that place shall be built a fort, that shall make Savona a slave to Turin. Savona is a town by the seaside, belonging to the Genoese. Turin is the chief city of Piedmont, belonging to the Duke of Savoy. English. In Hungary, through Bohemia and Navarre, and by banners feigned seditions, through flower de luce the Count Ray that wears the bar, against Orleans shall make commotions. Not. This stanza is divided into 2 parts. The 2 first verses foretell the troubles that were to happen in Hungary, Bohemia, and Navarre for religion's sake. The 2 last ones were fulfilled, when the Prince of Condé, who in his arms wears the flower de luce with the bar, did seize upon Orleans for the Protestant party. English. In the Cyclades, in Corinth, and Laris, in Sparta, and all Peloponnesus, there shall be so great a famine and plague by false arts, that shall last 9 months in Chersonesus. Not. Cyclades are the islands in the Aegean Sea. Corinth, Larissa, Sparta, Peloponnesus, and Chersonesus are countries of Grecia. English. In the great market called of the Lyres, which is all torrent and Athenian field, they shall be surprised by the light horse of the Albanese, Mars in Leo, Saturn in Aquarius. Anat. When Mars shall be in the sign of Leo, and Saturn in that of Aquarius, then the Count Ray of Athens shall be overrun by light horsemen of Albania. English. After the sea possess 17 years, 5 shall change in such a space of time. After that, 1 shall be elected at the same time, who shall not be very conformable to the Romans. Anat. The meaning is, that when a pope shall have sat in the chair, for the space of 17 years, within the same space of 17 years, 5 others shall be elected, and after them another, that shall not be well approved of by the Roman clergy and nobility. If my memory doth not fail me, this is come to pass already, but wanting the pope's chronology, I could not make it good. English. Under the territory of the round lunary globe, when Mercury shall be lord of the ascendant, the island of Scotland shall make a luminary, that shall put the English to an overthrow. Anat. This prophecy must of necessity be passed, for since the union of both kingdom under one king, such a thing hath not happened, nor is it likely it should be hereafter. English. He shall translate into the great Germany, Brabant, Flanders, Gand, Bruges, and Bullen. The Trusfeind, the great Duke of Armenia, shall assault Vienna and Cologne. Anat. It is concerning an emperor that shall add all those countries to the empire of Germany. English. The seer shall invite the shades of the great empire, then shall it come to stir the Aegean Sea with lines of encumbers, hindering the Tyrrhene Sea to roll. Anat. This is either mystical or metaphorical, or I understand it not. English. The rose shall be in the middle of the great world, blood shall be publicly spilled for new deeds, to say the truth, every one shall stop his mouth, then at the time of need shall come long looked for. Anat. The words are plain, out of which every one may make what construction he pleaseth. English. The deformed born shall through horror be suffocated, in the habitable city of the great king, the severe proclamation against banished shall be recalled, hail and thunder shall do inestimable harm at Condon. Anat. Condon is a town in France, the rest is plain. English. At the climacterical degree of 48, at the end of Cancer, shall be such a drouth, that fish in the sea, river, and lake shall be boiled to a consumption, Béarn and Bigorre by heavenly fire shall be in distress. Anat. Béarn and Bigorre are 2 provinces of France, the rest is plain. English. Milan, Ferrara, Turin, and Aquileia, Capn, Brundis, shall be vexed by the French, by the lion and troop of Aquileia, when Rome shall have an old Britannic head. Anat. The cities here mentioned are all in Italy. English. The incendiary shall be overtaken by his own fire, heavenly fire shall fall at Tardis and Comminga, Foy, Auk, Mézère, a tall old man shall escape, by the means of those of Hesse, Saxony, and Thuringe. Anat. Tardis, Comminga, Foy, Auk, Mézère are towns in France. Hesse, Saxony, and Thuringe are provinces of Germany. English. About the Pyrenean mountains there shall be a great gathering of strange nations to succor a new king, near Garonne and the great temple of Mas, a Roman captain shall fear him in the water. Anat. The Pyrenean mountains are those that part Spain from France, Garonne is the river that runneth at Bordeaux. It seemeth then, that upon that river a Roman captain shall stand in much fear of the new king before mentioned. English. In the year 580 more or less, there shall be a strange age, in the year 703, witness heaven, many kingdoms, 1 to 5 shall be changed. Anat. What strange age it was in the year 1580. Every one may satisfy himself by history. As for the year 1703, our author saith there will be great wonders, chiefly there shall many changes be in kingdoms, insomuch that one shall be divided into 5. English. The river that makes trial of the new-born Celtic shall be at great variance with the empire. The young prince shall be an ecclesiastical person, and have his scepter taken off, and the crown of concord. Anat. This river is the river of Rhine, because the ancient French, when they had a king newly born, they used to put him upon a target, to make him swim upon that river, to try whether by his swimming he was lawfully begotten or no. The meaning therefore is, that this new-born Celtic or French king shall be at variance with the empire, and that in his young years the clergy shall take his scepter and crown from him. English. The river of the Low Countries shall change her shore, it shall touch no more the city of Agrippina, all shall be transformed, except the old language, Saturn, Leo, Mars, Cancer and Rapine. Anat. This is a strange prediction, if it should prove true, that the Rhine should change its course, and should touch no more the city of Colon, which is here called Agrippina, because its name in Latinate is Colonia Agrippina, being a colony of the Romans, built by Agrippa, son-in-law to Augustus, others say by Agrippina, mother to the Emperor Nero. The last verse signifieth no more than an unfortunate position and aspect of the two planets, Saturn and Mars, and of the two signs, Leo and Cancer. English. So great a famine with a plague, through a long reign shall come along the Arctic pole, Samarobrin 100 leagues from the hemisphere, shall live without law, exempt from policy. Anat. The two last verses foretell a great plague and famine that shall come from the north, by the means of the long reign. Samarobrin he calls a people, that shall be 100 leagues from our hemisphere, and shall live without law and policy. English. Towards the north shall appear, not far from Cancer a blazing star, Susa, Siena, Bis, Eretrian, there shall die at Rome a great man, the night being past. Anat. Here he foretelleth the apparition of a comet that shall be vertical to the cities here named, and not far from the sign of Cancer, at which time a great person shall die at Rome, about the dawning of the day. English. Norvegia, and Dacia, and the British island, shall be vexed by the brothers united. The Roman captain issued from French blood, his forces shall be beaten back to the forest. Anat. The difficulty lies in the word brothers, which I suppose to be the United Provinces. The rest is plain. English. Those that were in esteem for their learning, upon the change of a king shall become poor, some banished, without help, having no gold, learned and learning shall not be much valued. Anat. This prophecy is clear enough, and here the author hath said nothing, but what doth commonly happen. English. To the holy temples shall be done great scandals, that shall be accounted for honors and praises, by one, whose medals are graven in gold and silver, the end of it shall be in very strange torments. Anat. Here the reader must understand that the author was a Roman Catholic, and therefore calleth holy temples, the churches of the Romish religion, which in the beginning of the civil wars in France, were much abased by those of the Protestant religion, then called Huguenots, whose chief was Henry King of Navarre, who was the only man amongst the Protestant party, that could have money and medals coined to his stamp, as being King of Navarre. But the last verse of this prophecy proved too true, when upon St. Bartholomew's Day, the 24th of August, in the year 1572, the general massacre of the Protestants was made through France. English. Within a little while the temples of the colors, white and black shall be intermixed, red and yellow shall take away their colors, blood, earth, plague, famine, fire, water shall destroy them. Anat. By the temples of the colors white and black, I suppose he means that of peace, and of war. By the red and yellow, may be meant the empire of the Swedes, who shall be at variance together, and by their long war shall bring the plagues here mentioned, as it came to pass in the wars of Germany, between the emperor and Gustavus Adolphus, king of the Swedes. English. The 7 branches shall be reduced to 3, the eldest shall be surprised by death, 2 shall be said to kill their brothers, the conspirators shall be killed, being asleep. Anat. It is apparent that he speaks of 7 brethren, that shall be reduced to 3, whereof the eldest son shall be surprised by death, and 2 of the rest shall be said to have murdered their brother, the conspirators shall afterwards be killed in their sleep. English. to raise an army, for to ascend unto the empire of the Vatican, the royal blood shall endeavor, Flemings, English, Spain shall aspire, and shall contend against Italy and France. Not. This prediction signifies no more, but that there shall be a great commotion among the nations of Europe concerning the election of a pope, which is called here the Empire of the Vatican, because the Vatican is the Pope's palace in Rome. English. A doubtful man shall not come far from the reign, the greatest part will uphold him, a capital will not consent that he should reign, his great chair he shall not be able to maintain. Not. What should that doubtful man be, whom our author doth mention here, is not easy to be understood, but it seemeth that it shall be some body pretending to the popedom, who shall have a great party for himself, and yet for all that shall be excluded, and not able to keep his seat, so that this prophecy is but the second part of the foregoing, for they have both a relation together. The capital anciently was the citadel of Rome, and now is the place where the courts of judicature meet, called Campidoglio. English. Far from his country the king shall loose a battle, nimble, escaped, followed, following, taken, ignorantly taken under the gilded coat of mail, under a feigned habit the enemy taken. Not. This prophecy was fulfilled in the year 1578. When Don Sebastian, king of Portugal, went into Africa to help and succor Muley Hamet against Muley Malik, that had expelled him out of the kingdom of Fez and Morocco, and there fought that famous battle of Alcacerquibir, wherein his whole army was routed, and himself slain by the Moors, and his body afterwards sold to the king of Spain for 100,000 crowns. English. Under the tomb shall be found the prince, that shall have a price above Nuremberg, that Spanish king in Capricorn shall be thine, deceived and betrayed by the great Wittenberg. Not. We hear of no prince that had that advantage upon Nuremberg, but only Gustavus Adolphus, king of Sweden, who took it. The last two verses signify no more than that the king of Spain shall be wasted at the time when the sun is in Capricorn. English. That which shall be taken from the Yunquite by the Normans of France and Picardy, the black ones of the temple of the place called Black Forest, shall make a rendezvous and a fire in Lombardy. Not. The meaning is, that what the Normans and those of Picardy shall save from the hand of a young conquering prince, the same shall be employed in building a temple in the Black Forest, which is that part of the Forest of Arden, that lies near Bohemia, and another part of it to build a house in Lombardy. English. After the book shall be burnt, the asses shall be compelled several times to change their clothes, the Saturnines shall be burnt by the millers, except the greater part, that shall not be discovered. Not. This seems to foretell a persecution of ignorant men against the learned, after which shall happen a confusion amongst the ignorant persons, who shall be forced to disguise themselves. The last two verses seem to be of the same sense, for by the Saturnines I understand studious people, and by the millers rude and unlearned persons. English. The great king being forsaken by physicians, shall be kept alive by the magic and not by the art of a Jew, he and his kindred shall be set at the top of the kingdom, grace shall be given to a nation that envieth Christ. Not. This in plain words signifieth no more, but that a king shall be desperately sick and forsaken by his physicians, and shall recover by the help of a Jew, for which fact those of that nation shall be re-established in his country. English. The true flame shall swallow up the lady that went about to burn the guiltless. Before the assault the army shall be encouraged, when in Seville a monster like an ox shall be seen. Not. Seville is the chiefest city of Andalusia, a province in Spain, the rest is plain. English. The feigned union shall not last long, some shall be changed, others for the most part reformed, in the ships people shall be penned up, then shall Rome have a new leopard. Not. When the things contained in the 3 first verses shall come to pass, then Rome shall have a new pope, expressed here by the word leopard from the variousness, that is, in his pontifical garments. English. When those of the Arctic pole shall be united together, there shall be in the east a great fear and trembling, one shall be newly elected, that shall bear the brunt, Rhodes, Bisons, shall be deweyed with barbarian blood. Not. This foretelleth an union between the Europeans, or nations of the north against the eastern people, or Turks, and that the Christians shall make choice of such a general, that shall make the east quake, and get such victories, whereby Rhodes and Constantinople shall be dyed with Turkish blood. English. Within the ground of the great coelestial temple, a nephew at London by a feigned peace shall be murdered, the boat at that time shall become schismatical, a feigned liberty shall be with hue and cry. Not. I think that by the great coelestial temple, he meaneth that of St. Paul, in which, or in the ground about it, shall be murdered a nephew by his uncle, which shall cause great divisions and dissensions in the city, compared here to a boat, and that a dissembled or feigned liberty shall be proclaimed. English. The despite of a king, and coin being brought lower, people shall rise against their king, peace newly made, holy laws being made worse, rappies was never in such a great disorder. Not. The first thing here to be observed is the word rappies, which is the anagram of Paris, which he saith was never in such a trouble before, as it shall be when the people shall rebel against the king for hatred, and because he shall have put low the price and intrinsical value of coin and money, he foretelleth also that there shall be a new peace made, and that the holy laws shall be much impaired. English. Mars and the scepter, being conjoined together, under Cancer shall be a calamitous war, a little while after a new king shall be anointed, who for a long time shall pacify the earth. Not. The meaning of this is, that when the planet of Mars shall be in conjunction with the constellation he calleth here the scepter, that then shall be a very calamitous war. The two last verses are plain enough of themselves. English. By Mars contrary shall the monarchy of the great fisherman be brought into ruinous trouble, a young, black, red shall possess himself of the hierarchy, the traitors shall undertake it on a misty day. Not. This prophecy is concerning a certain pope, signified here by the word of great fisherman, because in his seal is graven a fisherman, and therefore in all his bulls and expeditions, it is always written, Datum Romi sub sigillo piscatoris, this pope then it seemeth, shall be brought to ruin, and another it seemeth shall succeed him, having here three epithets, viz. Young, black, and red, which signifieth, that against the common election of popes, he shall be elected young, and shall be black in his complexion, and red in clothes, viz. A cardinal. Hierarchy is a Greek word, signifying dominion over the church. The last verse needeth no explication, being plain enough of itself. English. For years he shall keep the papal seat pretty well, then shall succeed one of a libidinous life, Ravenna, Pisa, shall take Verona's part, to raise up the Pope's cross to life. Not. This prediction seemeth to have not only a relation to the foregoing, but also a connection, for the author still handleth the matter of the popedom, and saith, that after that Pope shall have reigned for years, there shall succeed one that shall be notorious for debauchness and lechery, and that those towns he mentioneth here, which are all in Italy, shall take the Pope's part. English. In the islands from 5 rivers to 1, by the increase of great cheer and sullen, by the frost of the air one shall under furious, 6 shall escape, hidden within bundles of flax. Not. Chiron by transposition is taken for Henry, and Sullen for a king called so, because it is the name of a Turkish emperor, so that by this stanza I suppose he means Henry II. His master, King of France. The rest is plain. English. The great Celtic shall enter into Rome, leading with him a great number of banished men, the great shepherd shall put to death every man, that was united for the cock near the Alpes. Not. Because this word Celtic is often repeated in this book, it would not be amiss to satisfy the reader of the meaning of it. It is properly the nation of the Flemings, and some others of the Low Countries as far as the Maes and the Rhine, which anciently were called Galli Celti. By the great shepherd is meant the Pope, and by the cock is meant the French nation. The rest is easy. English. The holy widow hearing the news of her branches put in perplexity or trouble, that shall be skillful in appeasing of quarrels, by his purchase shall make a heap of shaven heads. Not. By the Holy Widow is meant the city of Rome, which is called in Italian Roma la Santa, because of the blood of so many martyrs that hath been shed there, for the maintenance of the Christian religion. He calleth it a widow, because at that time there will be no pope elected, and there shall be a kind of interregnum, as it always happens when a pope is dead, until the new one be elected. What he calleth here branches are the clergymen, and the shaven heads the priests. English. By the appearance of a feigned holiness, the siege shall be betrayed to the enemies. In a night that every one thought to be secure, near Brabant shall march those of Liege. Anat. Brabant is one of the 17 provinces, and Liege is a great city upon the river of Maes. The rest is not difficult. English. A king shall find what he so much longed for, when a prelate shall be censured wrongfully, an answer to the duke will make him discontented, who in Milan shall put many to death. Anat. This prophecy is too indefinite to admit of a particular sense, for there be so many prelates, so many kings, so many dukes, that it is not easy to fix upon any particular one, and therefore we must leave this stanza in Democritus as well. English. By treason one shall be beaten with rods to death, then the traitor shall be overcome by his disorder, the great prisoner shall try a frivolous counsel, when Barrett shall bite another's nose through anger. Anat. The words are so plain, that every one may make his own interpretation of them. English. His last hand bloody through a lose, shall not save him by sea, between two rivers he shall fear the military hand, the black and choleric one shall make him repent. Anat. This seemeth to be concerning a bloody man, that had killed one a lose, and sought to save himself by sea, but was taken between two rivers, and put to death by the command of one that was a black and choleric man. English. The device of flying fire shall trouble so much the captain of the besieged, and within shall be such mutiny, that the besieged shall be in despair. Anat. It is a fort or town besieged by an enemy, who shall torment the besieged so much with bombs and granados, and other flying fire, that they shall despair to escape. English. Near Ryan going to Blanchelaine, Aries, Taurus, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Mars, Jupiter, Sol shall burn a great plain, woods and cities, letters hidden in a wax candle. Anat. The meaning of it is, that when by the virtues and meetings of the said constellations, a great plain shall be burnt by Ryan, which is a city in Auvergne, that then letters shall be found hidden in a wax candle. English. Neither good nor evil by a land fight shall reach to the borders of Perusa, Pisa shall rebel, Florence shall be in an ill case, a king being upon his mule shall be wounded in the night time. Anat. Perusa, Pisa, and Florence are cities in Italy, the rest is plain. English. The ancient work shall be finished, from the tiling shall fall upon the great one an evil ruin, the innocent declared to be so, shall be accused after his death, the guilty shall be hidden in a wood in a misty weather. Anat. By the first verse is understood an ancient building, which shall be finished and brought to perfection. I suppose it to be the Lever, which hath been a building in the reign of 7 kings. But before it be thoroughly finished, some ruin shall fall upon a great man and kill him, one declared innocent of the fact shall be accused of it after his death, and he that shall be guilty of it shall escape by hiding himself in a wood in misty weather. English. To the vanquished the enemies of peace, after they shall have overcome Italy, a bloody black one shall be committed, fire and blood shall be poured, and water colored with blood. Anat. A bloody black man shall be put into the hands of the vanquished, by those that were enemies to peace, after they have conquered Italy, whence shall proceed fire and blood, and water colored with blood. English. The child of the kingdom, through his father's imprisonment, shall be deprived of his kingdom for the delivering of his father, near the lake Trasimene shall be taken in a tower, the troop that was in hostage, being drunk. Anat. The lake Trasimene in Italy is that near which Annibald got that famous battle upon the Romans. The rest is as plain as the words can bear. English. The great one of Mentz for to quench a great thirst, shall be deprived of his high dignity, those of Colon shall bemoan him so much, that the great Gropt shall be thrown into the Rhine. Anat. This foretelleth the fall of an archbishop of Mentz, in Latine Moguntia, who is the first ecclesiastical elector, and shall be deprived of his dignity by a covetous and powerful prince to satisfy his covetousness, at which those of Colin his neighbours shall be so incensed, that they shall throw that covetous person into the Rhine. English. The second head of the kingdom of Denmark, by those of Friesland, and the British Island, shall cost to be spent above 1,000,000. Mark, vainly endeavouring a journey into Italy. Not. This signifieth only a conjunction of the Dutch, Danish, and English forces, to attempt something in Italy, which shall prove fruitless, and cost a great deal of money. English. Unto Elogmian shall be left the kingdom of great Selin, who shall do more than the rest. Through Italy he shall spread his ensigns, he shall govern by a prudent dissimulation. Not. We have said before, that whenever the author speaks of Ognian, he meaneth the king of France. The meaning therefore of this whole stanza is, that Henry II, son to Francis I, whom he calls here Great Selin, shall do more in Italy than his predecessors had done, which proved true, and he governed his kingdom with a prudent dissimulation. English. A great wall shall be uninhabited, where Seine and Marne comes to water about, being attempted by the Thames and martial people, the guards deceived in thinking to resist. Not. By the two first verses, he meaneth without doubt the city of Paris, for it is watered by those two rivers, the Seine and Marne, that join together at the head of it, but how this city should become uninhabited is the great question, and chiefly by the means here alleged, viz. of the English signified by the Thames, and other martial people, the guards deceived in thinking to repulse the enemy. English. By night in Nantes the rainbow shall appear, see rainbows shall cause rain, the Arabian Gulf shall drown a great fleet, a monster shall be in Saxony from a bear and a soanot. Nantes is a city in France, Iris is the rainbow, Saxony is a province in Germany, the rest is plain. English. The governor of the kingdom being learned, shall not consent to the king's will, he shall intend to set out a fleet by a contrary wind, which he shall put into the hands of the most disloyal. Not. This signifies that the governor or viceroy of a kingdom shall refuse to consent to his king's deeds, the rest needeth no interpretation. English. A just person shall be banished, by plague to the borders of non-Segal, the answer to the red one shall make him deviate, retiring himself to the frog and the eagle. Not. I cannot find what he meaneth by non-Segal, by the eagle he meaneth the emperor, and by the frog the king of France, for before he took the flower de luce, the French bore 3 frogs. English. Between two mountains the two great ones shall meet, they shall forsake their secret enmity, Brussels and Dol shall be crushed by Langres, to put their plague in execution at Malines. Not. Brussels is a town of Brabant, and so is Malines, Dol is one of Burgundy, and Langres another of France. English. The feigned and seducing holiness, accompanied with a fluent tongue, shall cause the old city, and too hasty Parma, Florence and Siena to be more desert. Not. I know not what he means by the old city, unless it be Rome, by reason of its antiquity. English. From the party of Mamre high priest, they shall subdue the borders of Danubius, they shall expel crosses, by sword topsturvy, slaves, gold, jewels, more than 100,000 rubles. Not. Some parties of the Pope's side shall subdue those bordering upon Danubius, and drive away the priests, turn all things topsturvy, make slaves, and take a booty above the value of 100,000 rubles. A ruble is a piece of gold of the Great Mogul, worth 2 or 3 pounds sterling. English. In the well shall be found the bones, incest shall be committed by the stepmother, the case being altered, there shall be great stir about the bones, and she shall have Mars for her ascending planet. Not. It is the strange wickedness of a woman, that shall incestuously be got with child by her son-in-law, and when she is delivered, shall kill her child, and throw him into a well, a while after the water beginning to corrupt, a search shall be made of the cause, and then the child's bones shall be found, which shall cause a great stir, and for to know this wicked woman, he saith, that the planet of Mars shall be the ascendant in her horoscope. English. People assembled to see a new show, princes and kings, with many assistants. Pillars shall fail, walls also, but as a miracle, the king saved, and 30 of the standers by a knot. The words of this prediction are plain and easy, and signify no more than what often happeneth, and may happen yet, viz. That where a concourse of people shall be to see a new show, the pillars and walls of the building shall fall, and people perish by the ruin, as if it were by a miracle. The king and 30 of the spectators shall be preserved. English. Instead of the great one that shall be condemned and put out of prison, his friend being in his place, the Trojan hope in 6 months joined, stillborn, the sun in Aquarius, then rivers shall be frozen. A knot. By the Trojan hope is meant a king of France, who after he hath been married 6 months, shall have a child stillborn. English. The great Celtic prelate suspected by his king, shall in haste by night go out of the kingdom by the means of a duke. The fruitful Brittany, Byzance by Cyprus, and Tunis shall be unsuspected. A knot. The great Celtic prelate was the Cardinal of Lorraine, brother to the Duke of Guise, who being suspected by the king, went away by night to Rome. By fruitful Britain is understood the province of that name in France, which by the means of the Duke of Mercure, her governor shall be unsuspected by the king. English. At the break of day, at the second crowing of the cock, those of Tunis, and Fez, and Bugia, by means of the Arabians, shall take prisoner the king of Morocco, Indiana the year 1607. By liturgy. A knot. By liturgy, I suppose he meaneth under pretext of religion. The rest is easy to be understood. English. The Chelm Duke, in pulling a sponge, shall see Arabian sails suddenly discovered, Tripolis, Chios, and those of Trapsen. The Duke shall be taken, Mar Negro, and the city shall be desert. A knot. Chelm is a German word that signifies a rogue. By Mar Negro is meant the Black Sea, or Nigrapont. By pulling a sponge, I suppose the great quantity of sponges that stick to the rocks in that sea. Tripolis, Chios, and Trapezon are places in the Turkish dominions. English. The feared army of the enemy Narbonne shall so much terrify the Spaniards, that Perpignan shall be left empty by the blind D'Arbonne, then Barcelone by sea shall give the chase. A knot. A great army gathered about Narbonne shall so much terrify the Spaniards, that Perpignan a town of theirs shall be desolate, and left empty by the governor, here called the blind D'Arbonne, then Barcelone, which is a sea town in Catalonia, belonging to the Spaniards, shall come to its succors, and chase the enemy by sea. English. He that was a great weight in the kingdom, having a red head, and near the hierarchy, harsh and cruel, shall make himself so dreadful, that he shall succeed to the sacred monarchy. A knot. This is a person of great quality, and near of blood to a king, who being a cardinal, cruel and dreadful, shall be elected pope, I suppose Clement VII. English. Between the two monarchs that live far one from the other, when the sun shall be eclipsed by Selene, great enmity shall be between them two, so that liberty shall be restored to the Isles and Sienne. A knot. Here is nothing difficult but the word Selene, which is the moon, from the Greek sigma epsilon lambda nuada. The meaning is, that at such a time when the sun is eclipsed by the moon, Siena and the islands about it shall be at liberty. English. A lady in fury by rage of an adultery shall come to her prince and conjure him to say nothing, but shortly shall the shameful thing be known, so that 17 shall be put to death. A knot. The sense of this stanza and the words are plain. English. That prince being out of his Celtic country shall be betrayed and deceived by an interpreter, Rouen, Rochelle, by those of Gascony, at the port of Blavet shall be deceived by monk and priest. A knot. We have said many times before what is meant by the word Celtique. The port of Blavet is that of the river of Bordeaux. English. The great carpet folded shall not shew, but by half the greatest part of the history, the driven out of the kingdom shall appear sharp afar off, in warlike matters every one shall believe him. A knot. This needeth no interpretation.